Hey, everyone. Ian Hylands. Yeah. Hey, who's out there? 3 of you right now. I'm going to wait a few minutes and then just start talking about some things. So, yeah, hit me up. Let me know what's going on. I'm not sure if my chat works, if I can see chat in the chat window here. Hopefully it does. If it does, I'll try and pay attention to it. But who knows how that's going to go. Hey, look, I already got chat. All right, chat's working. Awesome. Oh, it wants me to sign in. I got to sign into my YouTube. For chat, it just kicked me out. Give me half a second here. Sorry, YouTube just kicked me out of chat. But we should be back in just 1 second here. One second here. One second here. All right, now I got all sorts of weird things going on. Echoes and... All right, now I got all sorts of weird things going on. All right, well, I turned chat off for now because, hey, it's creating echoes and it's doing weird things. I got to figure that out for next time. But I will check in every now and then and see what's going on. So, basically, I just wanted to go over part of my process and have you all come along while I'm choosing some photos for an upcoming gallery show. And I do this all the time. I go through old photos for, an hour, hour and a half at a time, trying to pick the best ones and figuring things out. And a lot of them, a lot of the photos, give me half a second here. A lot of the photos that I want to put in a show right now, I need to rescan. So I got to find the original files if I have them, hopefully. There's a lot that I don't have, but it's a lot of going through my old archives and finding digital files in Lightroom, because a lot of stuff is cataloged, old stuff, and then going through and finding those slides, if I can, and sticking them into slide sheets. So I can go into Lightroom and look through old photos here. And this is some stuff I want to include. And this is going to be stuff from a shoot that I did with Aaron Chase and Eric Porter in the Baldy Pipe. And I realized that I've got all these great photos that I want to show. Probably not big, because I want to I don't know how many photos I'm going to put in this show, but there'll be a bunch. And when I go back through them, I got to choose them, but I got a limited number I can show. And I'm trying to figure out how to include some little stories in this show. So maybe collections of smaller images. I got a bunch of 18 by 24s, 13 of them I think, that I want to put up, and then a bunch of smaller stuff. But there's little stories like this that I think go really well together. So I'm still trying to figure out how big I'm going to print these and how I'm going to do it. But yeah, so this set right here, and if I go through these ones, I love this set together. But the picture right here, this picture of Aaron is not the one that was used in the Maxis ad, which is probably the one I want to use. And I managed to find that the other day. I was looking through things and I found it and I stuck it in my sheet of slides to be used on, well, for scanning, when I get to scanning. And I just got, where did it go? Negative Supply makes some really cool camera scanning stuff. And I've got an old Sony A7R Mark II, which is 42 megapixels, I think, 42, thereabouts, which I can put right here on this, I can put it right here. This is my camera stand, and I can actually throw a light table. I got to get a better light source. I've got you'll see that in a minute, but this thing is going to speed things up. This is a slide holder from Negative Supply, and it's going to go right on my light table. And if I switch over to here, you're going to be looking down at this right now, so I can throw that on there, and slides will go right in it. So for now, let's look through this. I'll try and find that one I found of Eric, and or Aaron, sorry. And I thought I stuck it in one of these. Yeah, this one right here. So that's the one that I would need to scan, because I don't have that one scanned. If you look, I've got something close, but it's from a different angle, and I like this one better. So there's the one I have, and there's the one I want to scan. So I got to go through and scan that. So I've been making these sheets of images that I might want to scan for this show. And going through some of this stuff, there's a lot of good stuff in here. Some Dave Mira stuff that I want to put into the show. This is Darren Bearcloth here from, I don't know what year, a long time ago. 2002, BMX. And Chris Duncan, bunch of photos. This one right here, this is one of this is a negative. This is before I even shot slide film. This is the first real photo that I sold and made money from. And do I have it sitting around here somewhere? I thought I had it printed out. Maybe I don't. Might still be somewhere else. But it's an old snowboard photo. And it's, yeah. Turn this back on so you can see me talking here. Anyways, so this one I need to do, Aaron Chase. This photo, Eric Porter, I'm not sure. It was in an Outside magazine thing, and it was pretty cool. I don't know if that's good enough as far as I've got so many images. Not that it's not good enough. I have so many images. Bunch of old snowboard stuff. I'd like to include one or two snowboard photos. You know, this is 1994. There's a bunch of stuff here. Evan Feen up on, this is 1992. This is up at Mount Callahan up by Whistler. And this was on a back page of Transworld. And I'd love to frame that one up. I got a bunch of stuff. This one here, this was in Transworld. This is Matt Goodwill from Mount Baker Bank Slalom, 1994. Evan Feen again, that's Brandywine Mountain from a trip we did in 1992. And Bjorn Inga, if you know Bjorn, he did all the crank films, and before he really started making Cranked, he was making a little guidebook, mountain bike guidebook. And this is, I don't know what year that is. It says 97. I'm pretty sure it was before that. 97 would have been Cranked years. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Anyways, that was used for a guidebook. So anyways, I got all these photos, I got to go through that I've already gone through, and a lot of these. This was a photo of my friend John Dyer. This was the first photo I ever had published in Bike Magazine, and I need to scan that. I've never scanned it. It was in Bike Magazine in 1994, and yeah, I really want to include that. So, a bunch of other stuff. Dave Mira shots. This was the main shot from a spread ad that Maxxis did, double truck ad, and this was a little inset in it, and this, which is a really cool portrait of Dave. This one was a Bell ad, you know, so basically I've got all these photos, and I've been trying to go through and put them into a folder, arrange them, and go through and choose which. I have a very limited number that I can print out. I mean, if I printed 25, 30 images, logistically having to frame, matte, print, all that kind of stuff, 30 images is a lot. So, yeah, something to think about is how many. But I want to kind of do for this show, and the show's going to be, here's a little thing. I don't know exactly, probably June 21st, I believe, the Friday. Boise Bike Festival's that weekend. And hopefully a lot of people are going to be here. And that Friday night, we can have a little gallery show, opening of a show. So location, not announced yet, figure that out. But yeah, so June 21st. So I got a little bit of time to figure that out. I'm also working on a couple book projects that I want to get going on, and the same thing. And I want to do, as the show and also with books, kind of a history of my photography, starting from the beginning, from my first skateboard photo that I was really happy with in 1986 as a kid. And there's a bunch of photos there. It's all print film. It's black and white. And I have the negatives. I found them again. Before that, I had just a pack full of, a little envelope full of photos with names written on them, you know, like Tony Hawk and Hazoy and I don't know, everybody that was there. It was Expo. It was an insane event. And I shot a lot of photos, and I got a couple good ones. So I wanted to do one of those. And then from skateboarding, I went into snowboard stuff. And I want to include a couple snowboard photos because that's really where I got it started. Not too many, but my first photography work was, I did some stuff for Mistral and then a bunch of stuff for a clothing company I worked for, Chromophobia. And I really do have very, very little of those images. They all went out, I don't know where they went, magazines, companies, whatever. Very little of it I got back. And I know there's a sheet of my best work. There was back in, I don't know what year it was, probably 94 or something. There was a guy that wanted to do, he was doing a presentation in Vancouver, and he wanted to do a little slideshow, and he wanted some of my photos for it on snowboarding. It was a snowboard movie premiere, and he wanted to do it, and I gave him, I think it might have been a full sheet. Guy's name was Brad, B-Rad, and gave him these photos, including a bunch of my favorites. And then he kind of disappeared. I never heard from him again, ever. So lost a bunch of stuff there, lost a bunch of stuff to magazines. I think actually in Europe, I had lists of where everything was, but when I upgraded computers over the year, I lost my old database file, and I don't know where any of that stuff is. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get back to what we're doing. So if I go to, back to here, we are gonna go through what I have. And this photo definitely need to include, this photo was a poster for K2 Zero Gravity team for, this was from Cranked in 1998. This is Dave Swetland. I don't know if any of you that are watching, I don't know who's watching because I can't see chat, but, or can't see who's watching, but this photo, I've got it on a big poster. I still have this original, and I'd love to do this one. So what I'm going to do is I've made this folder here in Lightroom, Gallery Show Collection. It's my default, so I'm just going to add this to it. 98. It's a bunch more stuff. This is Dave as well. I shot a whole bunch of stuff. I've got a bunch of photos from this. Again, I'm missing the best one, but we shot a bunch of stuff in Rossland. Him just railing these sand slopes and trying to cover me like almost like a barrel of sand. And I do have one that I might use, not for this show, but I need to go through. This is from Cranked. This is Kim Steed. And black and white. This is from the Flying Circus section of Cranked. Maybe it's not Flying Circus section. I did shoot that. It was that time period. But I think that might have been 97. I can't remember. That's a long time ago. Anyways, Kim Steed. Karis Evans. This was the first North Shore photo that I took in foggy light, you know, contrasty, that I really loved. And Karis is rad, if you know Karis. She was riding all the stuff the guys were riding, pretty much. And just really quiet about it, down to earth, doing all this stuff. And she had a rad part in Cranked. And this is from, God, I can't remember what trail this was on. Somewhere on Seymour, back in the day, 1998. And Rocky Mountain used this one in a catalog, and I was pretty stoked on it. This is Cranked, same thing. Same time period. This was a Cranked shoot. I don't remember what Cranked movie it was. This photo actually ran in Bike Magazine and as a full page. And what's cool about that, that's Wade Simmons in the front and Kim Steed in the back, and this is Derek Westerland in the middle. And this is Derek Westerland went on to start Freeride Entertainment, super successful series of New World Disorder films, and now doing some insane action sports stuff, like just a great production house, Freeride. So this is before he did all that. He was a guy from Nelson that was riding bikes, and he was in some of the first Crank films. Derek, if you're out there, what's up? Oh, here's the... Yeah, I used to, I scanned a border. I used to print out my own black and white, and I scanned a filed out a negative carrier and scan stuff, and then I cut it out so I could just add it to scans without having to do it. So that's what that was. This one, definitely need to include that one. Although I think I might reprint those, I'm not sure. Maybe make them small, I don't know. So those are some of my earliest photos of biking that I still have. Again, there's that shot of my friend John Dyer, Ladies Only on the Teeter Totter from 1994 that was in Bike Magazine in 94. And from 94 to 98, I don't have much. Shot a lot, no idea where it went. 99, there's a bunch of stuff. This is... So I got to go through this whole shoot. There was a girls segment we filmed for Cranked in, this is in Boulder City and in St. George and up on Gooseberry Mesa. This is Elodie Brown. And I'm not sure who's sitting up there, maybe Damian Skelton in the background there in the green shirt. Manualing, Freeride manualing down stuff, the 99. And this is another, this is only what I have scanned in the archive here, so there's not much. I've got albums full of photos from this that I need to go through. Dave Swetland, this is in Peru. This is, I believe this was near Arequipa, hiking up. This was in a Fox catalog. And yeah, got some really good stuff from Peru from this trip. And sent the best of it out to a couple magazines, and some of it was printed. I got a couple covers in, I think, Mountain Bike Rider in Germany and stuff, but no idea where the photos went after that. I don't have most of them. Johnny Smoke. This is, if you're driving from Vancouver up to Squamish, and you look up across the way right before you get to Squamish, there's the wood fiber pulp mill. And this is on, I think it was Roderick Mountain. We flew up to film a section and helied up, no idea. We knew there was a trail. Smoke had done the work finding out that there was this trail that went all the way down, old loam trail, that went all the way down to wood fiber pulp mill. And yeah, we flew up to the very peak of the mountain, landed the heli, and got out and route finding across snow and through trees and finding cairns and little pieces of trail till we got kind of down to tree line. Epic adventure. I don't think it ever made it into a film. But again, I don't remember. But yeah, anyways, it's a cool trip. I think this is the one photo I have scanned from it. Wade Simmons. I think this is from one of Yearly Ricker's, I think Yearly Ricker's film, which I don't have a copy of, so I can't look it up. But yeah, this is Wade Simmons. This is a really cool gap you get from this guy's house. The driveway's up here, and did this like urban gap all the way down to here somewhere. And you can see these two guys up here. They're watching him do it. It's cool. It's a pink house, and I wish it had popped more, but it is what it is. Shiloh Freer, old school free rider from Fernie, BC, I believe. And this is from that same area in Arequipa in Peru. Wade Simmons, this is up at Disneyland above Britannia Beach. Shot a bunch of this stuff. This is when it was the Super T, I think, first came out, and he had one of the first ones. And shot a bunch of stuff up there sent some to Marzocchi and a bunch of it to Roach, our old friend Ingrid at Roach. And she actually, in the other room, I've got a picture that she ran from this. Not this shot, different one, but the same shoot that Wade and I did. And we had to hike up to Disneyland at that point. There was no flying in helicopters or anything. It was a long adventure. Moab. This was our setup in Peru, filming crank stuff. And it was Tom Erickson and Christian Beijing and Dean Collingridge, Dave Swetland, Shiloh Freer, and I, an epic adventure. It's and then at one point Ryan Leach flew in, and I was kind of bummed. He shot a bunch of stuff with Christian, but didn't really get a chance to do that. Peru. Got a bunch of stuff from Peru. There's the boys. But again, I never scanned most of the stuff. I sent it out to magazines and never really got it back. Oh, look at that. I don't know how I'm going to show you this. I just got delivered. We're going back to that photo of Wade. And Nicole, my wonderful wife, just brought me this, which Roach used. I don't know if you can see that from that same shoot. And it's been hanging on my wall since forever. Love you, Ingrid. Miss you. Ingrid was rad. Any of you knew her. She did so much. The mountain bike world back then with Roach. More from the girls' trip. And this is another one from that trip up to Roderick above wood fiber. Some epic scenery up there. And another one. Not the best shot from the sequence, but it's what I have scanned. So I'm going to have to go through all the originals from that stuff and go through all the original files in my actual film archive and dig through all the slides and find the best ones and see if I have anything from that. Although I don't think there's anything in there that I really want to include in this. It's a cool piece of history, but if I've only got 25 or 30 photos, I'm pretty specific on what I want. So maybe I should pay more attention to that right now and see what we can add to this. Old black and white stuff, North Shore, some shots of Wade, Barb Haley. Some crazy old North Shore wooden stunts. These are actually this is actually in Penticton. I don't think anybody wrote it this day. It was covered in snow. Ian Molt, I think this was GMG on Seymour. And that was Mike and Gabe. So crazy trails that we grew up riding. I didn't ride most of GMG, but it was insane. This is the stuff that, this is 2000. Dangerous Dan, this is filming for Cranked. Chucking off of, I can't remember the name of the stunt. Ian Molt again. This is a cool shot. This is Tyler Klassen. Tyler Klassen filming Dan Cowan off of this drop. And you can see, if I zoom in, I don't know if you can see there, Tyler's got the old school Cranked helmet cam on. It's actually got an 8mm camera on one side with a battery and a weight on the other side to balance it out. And it was gnarly. And he actually hit this with that, must have weighed like 10, 12 pounds probably, if anybody knows, I don't know. Anyways, it was a heavy rig. And he followed Dan off this for the follow cam footage. Preston Blackie. Preston's up in the Yukon now. Bar spin. Dave Swetland, again, this was filming for Cranked in Boulder City, 2001. This one I definitely want to include. So Chris Donahue. This was probably my first of my very favorite photos where this is up during the Grouse Mountain World Cup, and they built jumps as I don't want to call it a sideshow. They had a little jump jam as part of the festival. It wasn't a sideshow. This is Jump Jam Festival, or as part of the Grouse Mountain World Cup Festival. And at sunset on top of the mountain, and I grew up seeing all these photos of Mount Seymour and people snowboarding with the city and stuff in the background. Devin Walsh and all the boys through the late 90s, and Kevin Sansalone, the whole Vancouver, North Van crew, Vancouver crew, Seymour kids. And I really wanted to do something similar with bike. And I got a chance here, and I took the film in to Gamma Pro, the lab I used, and I was so excited to get it back. And 2-hour turnaround on E6 on slide film back then, and I was so stoked. I got the film back and I was just blown away. Oh my God, these photos were just what I imagined when I shot them. And there's two to pick from. That one and that one. So probably the one on the right. Chris has got his arms further back. It's more like a full Suey. He may have in the first shot too. I may have just missed it. But I'm not, probably gonna go with this one. So make sure I add that, and then not much else in here. This is from this one, Marzocchi Sessions, Whistler, Wade Simmons. Bunch of stuff that I shot that got a lot of attention. These shots were referenced by Specialized when they sent me an email, and they wanted to hire me to shoot catalog in, I think, 2003 maybe. and they really liked my style. And this is one of the images that they sent me. And they said, we like this. I said, well, what do you like about it? And they're like, it's edgy. And I'm like, well, edgy, okay. Is it like the POV? Oh, it's just edgy. And I had to interpret that for a whole photo shoot, what edgy was. But basically just using a bike-mounted camera and trying to get some shots of the bike and some, MRP guide, kind of stuff. Brian O. from Superheroes Shoot. This is off of a building. It's Simon Fraser. This is a sequence I put together. Most of these photos never went anywhere. This was submitted as a sequence to a bunch of places. Nobody ever ran it. None of this stuff. Anyway, so there's those two that I want to include. Once we get to 2002, I have a lot more stuff scanned. Ryan Senechel in Toronto. Cool sequence. I was really into shooting street in the early 2000s. There's a lot of street riding going on in mountain biking. Steve Pete, I'm pretty sure, at Whistler. This would have been the Joyride Mountain Bike Festival, I think. Joyride, there you go. Joyride at Whistler, #1 plate. 2002, so long before Crankworks started, Whistler didn't have a lot to do with it, but the boys put together a mountain bike event called Joyride at Whistler, and kind of the predecessor to Crankworks. And when it became successful, Whistler decided that it was going to be their event, and Joyride moved to Kamloops for a year. Johnny Smoke, this is up, Warner Lake, I think, up in the Chilcotins. We did a trip up there, flew in. This is cross-processed film. Did the whole thing cross-processed. Jordy Lund from a trip we did. All these photos, I'd love to include all these photos, but I have so many, and can't use them all. I love this shot of Jordy. This is that's basically a vertical face he's dropping into. It's not super tall. It goes about 5 feet below the bottom of the frame. I wish I could have gotten back further on the side of the road and shot it a little wider to show more what he's hitting, but yeah. Same trip. Got all these shots. That's I think that's Gareth Dyer, I think, from this shoot, from a film shoot. Jordy jumping over the truck. So a lot of history there, and filming from the truck. Preston, downtown, bunny hop bar spin, off a curb. Gareth. Hang on, I'm gonna silence my phone here. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but. All right, Nicole just sent me a screenshot of chat. Let me see if I can get chat open again. Oh, there it does. I got chat again. Yay, I just had to reopen it. Get through some quick questions. A photo that was published and have others on display that were part of the same shoot. I can probably do that. Yeah. Sierra, what up? Early 2000s street riding. Yeah, there's a lot of it. This is a Superheroes thing. This is Gareth Dyer. We shot, this was, I think, close to where, this is in Langley, I believe, or Ladner. Ladner? No, Langley. Found this wall ride, sunset. And this is the same shoot. So this was on, is it on the back? I don't have it. I've got a stack of movies here, and I've got the only Neil Saunders film I have that I actually have is Highways, which was the year after this. and this is 2002. But this is a crazy road gap. And little story that goes along with this one is, so you can't see it in this picture because I took it out. Yeah, Langley. But I had a second camera for this shot that was set up on a tripod underneath, kind of over here. And I love the shot. You could really see, like, looking up at the buildings. It didn't give you a lot of perspective on how high it was, but it was a pretty epic shot. And set it up on a remote trigger. And Gareth needed an extra little piece of wood. He wanted to put one more piece of wood on the ramp. The roof of this building had a little ledge that was like maybe this high, and he put a little piece of wood on it, but he needed an extra piece. So one of the guys, I can't remember who it was, tried to frisbee this piece of wood up to him, and it went up like a boomerang, just like whoo, up into the air, came all the way back down, spun around, and hit my camera and sheared the camera clear in half. Like, the base plate was still attached to the tripod, but the lens and the rest of the camera body were just lying on the ground in pieces. So I only got one shot of this, but this shot I think was on the back of one of the video boxes. Can't remember, but it never really got used anywhere else. This is cranked. This is, at the time, I could talk about this shoot forever. This is Super T, Tyler Klassen. And this is Williams Lake. It's a road gap. And he's coming off this bridge here and landing. Can't quite see the landing. It's over here in the corner. And it's, at that time, it was a big gap. And it's, I don't know, 35 feet maybe. And Darren Bearcloth was with us. And Darren had never hit anything like this. And I remember asking Darren, like, Tyler was running into it. Labodulator 2000, yes! And it had a gate on it. Thanks, Dave, for that shot of Dangerous Dan. Oh, he kept a gate on it because he didn't want anybody hurt themselves on it. But this one, it was Darren and Tyler, and Darren had this Santa Cruz that he had borrowed from, or Bjorn had given him, that they had with Radical Films through Cranked. And Darren didn't have a full suspension mountain bike. And it was a size too small, built it up with spare parts, and he's up there. And Tyler hit it, and the first time Tyler hit it, he came up a tiny bit short, half a wheel length, cased it, and his wheel just blew up, his rear wheel. He rode down the landing with his hub on the ground and his rear wheel just hanging from a few spokes, the rest of it behind him. He had a spare wheel. I don't know why he didn't put the fresh wheel on anyways the first time. He had an old wheel on there, but whatever the reason, he hit it with an old wheel. Got that fixed up. And while I was talking to Darren about it, I said, hey, so this is, this is pretty big. Like, I look at it and I think on skis this would be okay, but this is huge. This is on a bike. Have you ever done anything like this? He's like, nope. I'm like, well, what's the biggest thing you've hit? And he's like, 10 feet to flat on my 20. And while Tyler was fixing his wheel, Darren rolled into it and he hit it just perfect, like super clean. And yeah, it's an epic part of that Cranked film. Darren and Ralph Hauser, I don't know where this is from. Vegas, maybe. There's a lot of party pics in here. I need to make sure some of these I haven't gone through and sorted them. Some of them may or may not be worth seeing. Larry and Christian, maybe Gareth, Neil Sanders. There's all sorts of stuff in there. Iden, at that point, Ingrid and Darren. You history buffs. Dave Reddick, Bike Magazine. I used to carry this little camera around and shoot everything. Cedric Gracia, and I don't know who, was some girl they found that had her underwear hanging out, and they were really excited by it. Marzocchi, this picture I have definitely needs to go in this show. This is Ryan Seneschal at the Hard Rock in Toronto. I have the original and I have some good scans of it. So he's hitting the rail pedal grind on his bike, and Marzocchi ran it above their booth in Interbike in 2002. So that's definitely, that was one of the first photos I think I gave to I sold to Marzocchi that they were stoked on. I did a lot of stuff for Marzocchi after that. Bryson, JP, and the boys, love you guys. You're rad. Now doing DVO, and then Iden at this is history. This isn't stuff that's going in my photo show, but this is just a collection of stuff from Iden. And actually, I keep wondering about this photo with Chris Donahue, Ryan Leach. But this photo of Chris, I have, and it was used as an ad by Adam Lab, I believe. And actually, I think I have it as a print here somewhere. Got a bunch of old ads that I'm kind of stoked on. Darren, old Roach ad. I don't know if you can see that, if it's too bright. It's an old Darren Bearcloth ad for Roach, but the one I'm looking for, oh, this is one of the Mira ads that I shot. And might run that as a photo too. Need to reprint it, not the ad, but the actual photo. Fufanu on a ladder wasn't any of my favorite stuff, but there's a lot of stories behind that whole shoot. So this is what I was looking for. So this is that same shot, and Adam Lab ran it as an ad, and you can see that. But it was shot for Iden, and in early 2000s, Iden was a clothing company based out of Vancouver, and I shot a lot of stuff for them. So this Dustin Adams, if any of you know Dustin, top downhill racer in Canada for years, and now he's got a rad little bike company in BC. But he was with Iden, and little Iden logo on the shorts there. Shot this poster. Red Bull Rampage. This is the first Red Bull Rampage I went to. It was the second one. These are just like party cam pics from what was going on. The Virgin City Princess and the second attendant from Virgin, making drinks. Tippy. Good shots of Tippy. Neil Saunders, Gareth, Johnny Rockall, Chris Gagan and Johnny, Bearclaw, Andrew Shandro. I think that's Brad Ewan. Brad, if you're out there, miss you. Caught up with a lot of these guys at Crankworks this year. It was amazing. I haven't been there in so long. People making faces. Corey LeClaire, Richie Schley. And this is one of the Canfield brothers. I don't know. So many old photos. We were partying in this tunnel in Virgin. Ended up there. And then later at the campsite, Brad Ewan, I don't know who's all in this picture. Colin Marr, yeah, all sorts of people. Photographer crew, whatever, campsite. I'm just going through this stuff we did for Cranked. Old pictures, Corey LeClaire, Pamblers from the truck, Corey and I don't remember who. Stuff is really not organized very well. Kyle Strait, 2002. I don't know how Kyle was in these pictures. 2002, how old was Kyle? 14 maybe? I don't remember. 15. Simi Valley jumps. I gotta get back on track and start finding the things that I'm looking for. This one. Definitely need to include this photo. So Darren Bearclaw. So the first year I shot that photo, that was Chris Donahue up at Grouse, and it was good, and it was sunset, and I sent it to Bike Mag, and they weren't interested, and nobody wanted it. I couldn't understand why. So if we go to this shot. So this was the first one, first year. I love it. It's the sunset. It's amazing. Didn't work. Bike Mag at the time really was not into flash photography. And so the next year, didn't care, did it again. Shot the same thing. I shot it with Darren, and he got this really nice 1-foot table, and I sent that to Bike Mag. And this photo actually was amazing. This ended up on the cover of the Bike Mag Photo Annual, and it was, I believe, the first real dirt jump, flashlit dirt jump photo. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But in Bike Magazine, and it was on the cover. Kind of changed things a little bit. All right. Where were we? 2002. So back to this stuff. I'm going to go through by folder. That way I have better control over it. Kyle Strait. Maybe he was 16. I think he had this truck. I think that was actually Kyle's truck. Kurt, did you send, was that the truck that you sold to Kyle or something? I can't remember the story behind that. And then, while we were out at Simi Valley, I shot this thing with Darren as well. I have better shots from different angles. Again, they're not scanned. And this was the only bike he had at the time, mountain bike. It was this .243 racing bike that Eric Fox made. And yeah, it was dope. We, yeah. It's like, so after going back to this one, so Tyler hit this, crashed. Darren hit it a couple times. Tyler hit it again. And then it was really hard to shoot. It was dark in the trees, and Darren hit it. And this was one of my favorite shots. This shows how big it is. And it's, Darren said, I'm only doing this once. And he's like, everything else is just a warm up. And he went in, and it wasn't great, but he clicked off this reasonable table off this thing. And at that point, nobody had ever done a trick off of a drop. I mean, this is early days. I mean, maybe it had happened, but not really, you know, and this changed a lot of things. This ran on the, as a 2-page spread in Dirt Magazine, and I was so stoked. Dirt Mag was like the best mag, and yeah, pretty stoked. You can see, like, it was a bright sunny day out there. We're in the shade in the trees, and there really wasn't a good way to shoot it, but yeah. Epic bear claw shot. And this one I might include. This is a self-portrait I took, and God, I can't remember this kid's name. It's going to come to me sometime when I'm not ready for it. But I'm getting old. I can't remember names. Anyways, I had a helmet cam, like the cranked one. I got Greg Fox to send me a couple of Fox helmets, moto helmets that were blems. And I got a large and an extra large, or maybe a medium and a large, I think. And put studs, photo studs on the side, and mounted a camera to one side and a small counterweight and trigger to the other side. And got the remote control in my hand, Pocket Wizard. See it right there in my hand. I don't know if you can see that. But Trevor Ellison, does that sound right? I think his name is Trevor. I said, hey, hit this jump, and when you're in the air, point across, like reach across and point at me. And I was stoked with how it turned out. Pre-focused, everything. This is from a Nikon F90. I think it weighed a little under 3 pounds with the fisheye on it. And I put 3 pounds of counterweight on the other side, so it wasn't awkward. And it was still like 6 pounds on your helmet. Try doing that. It was gnarly. But yeah, he did it. So I got to include this as a self-portrait. I have a ton of photos from Grouse Mountain. They're not scanned. Red Bull Rampage. So this photo too. This photo is, and my photos from Rampage. So I went down to Rampage with Darren. I was driving down to Interbike, in Vegas. And was it in Vegas? Or was that the year it was in California? I can't remember. Crazy. I'm pretty sure it was in Vegas that year. And I was driving down, and Darren wanted to come with me. And he had to go to the Vans Triple Crown BMX event in Oceanside first. And he wasn't going to Rampage. He was interested in it. He'd done all the crank stuff, was getting into freeride, was rad, but it was not on the invite list for Rampage. But we went down, Vans Triple Crown, hit that. He rode his BMX. And then we went to Interbike. He met a lot of people, and his cover, Bike Mag cover, had come out. Yo, Tyler, what up? Darren's Bike Mag cover had come out basically at Interbike, and he'd gotten a bunch of other stuff going on. And so here he is, this kid that's a BMXer, is suddenly like all over the media, and all these companies were, hey, we want to talk to you. But he still was riding this beat old Santa Cruz that he'd gotten from Bjorn with scrapped together parts. And, Ingrid had hooked him up with Roach, and, that was really it. And we went to Rampage. I wanted to shoot Rampage. Darren wanted to check it out. And he was trying to get in, and he couldn't get in. They weren't letting anybody in, especially because he didn't have an invite, and they were still, it was only the second year, but they were pretty picky about who was going to be in the contest. But Corey Leclerc had sprained his ankle, and Corey was on the list. And Corey said, I think it was Todd Barber back then still, said to Todd, hey, this guy has to ride for me. And there was a lot of discussion, but Darren ended up riding, and he ended up coming third. And I got a lot of great photos from it, and including this one. Of him at the bottom. And right after that, I got a bunch of communication from Red Bull, who wanted to use a bunch of this stuff to promote the event, and they hired me to shoot it the next year. And a bunch of other stuff. So it kind of, this photo and this trip basically led to me shooting for Red Bull. And so that's an important part of my history. So, this one, which I showed you, I got the ad for. I shot it as a silhouette and as a, Ingrid used this as a, Ingrid used this as an ad, and I shot it also as a silhouette, just in case, because it's a cool shape. But we're getting on in time here. It's coming up on an hour. I don't want to go more than an hour. I got a lot of things to do. I could talk all night. This sequence, Chris Glue, if anybody knows Chris, rad dude. He's built this drop, top of grouse, above 7th, in the gravel pit. And he was hitting it. I think Digger was filming it, and did it in the snow, and he came up a little bit short, a lot bit short. And survived, was okay, a little beat up, but yeah, like nowhere near far enough. Old Oak Street jump stuff, Chris Donahue, in the fog. I used to go out and just shoot different conditions. I think that might be Andrew Cho. And there's a photo here. So this is important. This is definitely going in the show. Anybody from Deity, this is what started my relationship with Eric Davies, this photo. And yeah, so this is Chris Donahue, and Chris was sponsored by MRP. And at the time, Chris was writing for MRP. Eric was working for MRP and taking care of ads and stuff and all that kind of stuff. And Eric wanted to run an MRP ad and said, Chris, hey, do you know anybody that can shoot a photo? We need an ad showing the crank. And Chris talked to Eric and then said, yeah, I know this guy. He can shoot this, no problem. And Eric was like, well, we need the photos pretty much tomorrow. We're on this super tight deadline. And Chris hit me up, said, hey, can we do this? And I was like, hell yeah, we can do it. It only takes 2 hours to get film developed. We just got to shoot it tonight, and he can have the photo tomorrow. So we went out and we shot a bunch of stuff, and we'll go through a bunch of this because I scanned a bunch of this just for, posterity's sake or whatever. So I'll flip through some of those. But Eric ended up using this photo. We basically contacted Chris one day, we shot it that night, and I sent him a scan of the photo the next day. And Eric and I have worked together ever since, and which leads me to where I am now working for Deity. So this photo's pretty important in my career for that. And yeah, just a shot of this MRP crank. It's got those old Atom Lab plastic pedals. I think I still have a pair of those on Nicole's Townie, maybe. Iden riding his old Balfa Minuteman. But let's go through some other photos from that night. I shot a bunch of different angles. So bunny hop to sprocket crank stall on this rail. There's a tiny little bank leading up to it in Vancouver. And this is a X-Up. This is Nigel Corliss. Nigel, if you're out there. Same thing, except his feet were opposite from Chris's, so I didn't get a shot at anything, but yeah. Different rail, same thing. Nigel with a sprocket chunk bar spin on the rail. And remember, this is back in the film days, and I was using my meter and flash and trying to balance the ambient. And I was pretty good at it, but not perfect. So some of these are a little blown out in spots. Now with digital, I'd take a shot, I'd look at it and be like, oh, I gotta turn this down a little bit, or, this is not bad, but this rail's all blown out. I could have put something on there to block the light on the rail. I love this shot of Nigel. Bar spin on the rail. I think Banshee might have actually used this for something. A little earlier in the day. This is a giant skateboard ledge in Vancouver, and I did not do a good job of lighting this. Just a bunch of things. I played around with multiple flash pops and stuff. This is a Bubica on a Jersey barrier. A Bubica X-Up on a Jersey barrier. Just random stuff, one-handed. So looking back, when you think, you look at all the amazing photos that I've taken, I've also taken a lot of garbage photos. But learning in the film days, there was a lot of taking garbage photos. I'd shoot stuff, I knew what the settings were, I knew what I did, and I'd have to go back and be like, oh, okay, how do I fix this? What's wrong with this? This is Preston. So, Tina, you are asking for some stuff behind published. To see other photos from photos that were published. So there you go. Freeze ride. This is going to be a whole nother day. Going into freeze ride, I went on a trip with Neil Saunders and the Superheroes for the Highways video, and our first stop was Red Bull Freeze Ride in Montana, and they did a freestyle, like a free ride event at a ski hill. And love this photo. Timo Pritzel, ibuprofen and arnica gel. The snow was a little weird. It was frozen solid, but then it warmed up, and it wasn't great. Andrew Cho, heel clicker. Anybody knows Andrew, say what up for me. Ted Tempany, huge part of trail building in Western Canada now. Vancouver Whistler Zone. Corey LeClaire, Gareth Dyer, Red Bull people. I think that's actually Brad announcing. Patrice. I'm not sure who that is. Francois Portman, maybe? A couple cameras up on top of the Red Bull vehicle. Anyways, and then one more quick one. This is Chris Duncan. So here's another one. At this point in time, nobody, almost nobody, was doing a tail whip on a mountain bike. And nobody, definitely nobody, was doing them consistently. And I was down at Sea Otter, or on my way down to Sea Otter, and God, I can't remember the actual date on this. The photos don't have dates back in the day. But Chris Duncan, BMX legend, was recommended to me as this guy that could, he's like, hey, Chris can do a tail whip on a mountain bike. I was working for Decline at the time, and you know, I needed to get shots of Decline, or was I can't remember. Launch magazine? I don't remember. Probably Launch, maybe it was Modest Bike, Ian Miller's thing. I can't remember. But Chris said he could consistently do tail whips one after another, as many as I wanted. So we went to some jumps. This looks like this is at Sheep, I'm pretty sure. This is at Sheep Hills. But then we ended up, is this all at Sheep? No, this is at Sheep too. But he was riding a KHS mountain bike, and he did tail whip after tail whip. Must have done 100 of them. And then we went somewhere else. I can't remember where we went. Somebody's house. And shot these at sunset. And it's crazy when you think some of this stuff is published and you look at it and zoomed in tight compared to digital. I mean, this is probably a 16 megapixel scan of a slide, and it's not that sharp compared to digital nowadays. Bar spins. Chris used to do, like, I think quad bars on his BMX, maybe more. Yeah, whose house is that? Anybody remember? Anyways, that's it. If you look over here, I've got this whole list of stuff that I need to go through. I'll probably take maybe this one and add it to my list. I don't know if it'll make the final cut, but basically this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do it every, yeah, Jamie. It's, yeah, June. I got till June to get this done, but I'm going to need to start printing stuff. I got to make a selection. I got to find the originals. I got to scan them all. So I'm going to try and do this every week. And this is my first time doing this, so it's a little out there as far as me staying on track. I feel real ADHD right now, talking to y'all. Yeah, really ADHD. So I'm going to shut this off. It's been an hour. I don't want to go forever. But thank you so much, all of you that joined me. Eric Engstrom. Hey, hang on a second. Eric's there. You got to come back next time. Eric, I got so one of these photos that I had here, I got a bunch of photos. This is from the Highways trip, but these are Eric Engstrom on this this pipe we found in the we found this full pipe in the middle of the I-5 north of LA. So Eric, thanks for hitting me up in a message because, hey, you're in here. And I got other photos of Eric too. Rad dude. Eric Porter. I can't remember if that's, I gotta look closer and see. But yeah, anyways, Eric, stoked. Oh yeah, Eric said he was here earlier. Dope. So I can go through so much of that old stuff. I got BMX pictures with Chris and Eric and a bunch of other people too. So Russell, Brett, Tyler, Jamie, everybody that commented, thank you so much. I'm gonna stick to Fridays for now, 7:30 Fridays. Once we get busy, Friday becomes part of the weekend. So if I'm away for the weekend or something, it doesn't really work. Send me a message on Instagram. Let me know, or text me if you got my number. Let me know what day would work best. A lot of people mentioned Wednesdays. A lot of people said they didn't care, just do it. So I'm going to try and make this a regular thing. I'd love to do it every week. Keep it to an hour and try and be a lot more focused, a lot less ADD, because I get that way. And, I get talking. I feel like I start telling stories, and that's important. It's a big part of what I miss right now with the work I'm doing at Deity. I tell the stories of product, but I used to hang out with a lot of really cool people and go on trips and try and tell the stories of what we did. And a lot of that stuff never really got shared. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you all for coming out. I'm going to shut this off and probably keep working for a bit and probably go have dinner. So, yeah. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Oh, quickly, I'm going to put this up on, I might edit it a little bit, but I'm going to throw this up on YouTube as an actual video as well if anyone wants to come check it out and see what's going on, and I can probably watch it too. So if you missed it, you just tuned in at the end, you want to see more of it, it'll be under my lives on YouTube.